All right, everybody, welcome to our latest virtual bourbon event. My name is Steve Akley, and I'm joined today by Wes Hardin. And Wes, of course, does our Dusty Hunters series, and he's got a good one here, very interesting, McCormick. So for those of you that know them, they have a very interesting history, so we're going to get into that too, in addition to tasting this whiskey. So, hey, Wes, how you doing, man? Oh, you're on mute.
Doing good, Steve. How you doing?
Oh, very good, very good. So we've got a fun one here, and this was in a Betsy Ross thing, right? Decanter.
Yes, it was part of. We'll get into some of the history behind that. It's one of many. Come to find out, it's one of many different decanter series that McCormick did back from the late '60s to the early '80s. Pretty interesting, all the different variants they do with it. So.
You're struggling with your internet right now. I assume that's just us, right? That do I sound okay, guys?
You sound fine.
Okay. So yeah, Wes, you were heavily breaking up there, but hopefully it in a second here adjusts or whatever.
Let me come back in.
Okay. Yeah, because that's
okay.
still bad. So, okay. Let him get corrected there, and these things happen, live events. So. Zoom overall works pretty good, but you can't. This probably has nothing to do with Zoom. It's a internet issue, local basis. So when you're dealing with multiple people, these things can happen. Danny, you and I are going on a big road trip this weekend. What time are we leaving on Saturday? I'll let you decide, man. I'm good whenever. Danny, I think you're on mute or something.
We riding together or taking separate cars?
What do you want to do? I mean, if we're going in the rig.
That's up to you.
Okay. Well, it's up to
Whatever you decide. I'm game for leaving early in the morning.
Okay, let's leave early in the morning. Do you want me to take my car so we have a car then?
We can. Okay. But I got to take my truck for the camper, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, true. Okay. Gotcha.
Is that any better, Steve?
Yeah, that sounds better.
Perfect. I don't know what was going on, but we got it corrected.
All right. Well, let's start with a little history of McCormick here, because they have a big-time history, don't they?
Yeah, they do. It's weird. When I first saw these decanters, like most people, or at least for me anyway, I always think of McCormick as spices. That was basically what I knew McCormick from, where you're looking, for me, it was my grandmother or my mother's cabinet when I was growing up, and you see all these little rectangle, little tin boxes of pepper and clove and allspice and cinnamon, and it was always McCormick. So when I saw that there were decanters of bourbon and whiskey from McCormick, that I started diving into, this can't be the same company. Find out it is. And it's a pretty interesting history. They're located probably as far opposite in Missouri as you are, Steve. They're on the very far west end of the state. And actually that distillery's been there since 1856, which is actually a little hard to believe. I had to do a double take when I read that. But it was started by Benjamin Holliday. So you have a bottle that I sent you, I think, last holiday, of BJ Holiday.
Correct.
And that's one of the brands they produced over the years. And it comes to find out that he started the whole thing. He started what is now the McCormick Distillery. Started off as a distillery created by him. But he was one of those guys that had his hands in everything. So he actually made his fortune as a stagecoach. He was the stagecoach king, is what they said. And he was running stagecoach lines from Missouri to the West Coast that later became the Wells Fargo Express, and then they acquired the Pony Express. So he was in some ways was in the grassroots of what ended up being the Pony Express of all things. So he was a big time entrepreneur. He just turned the distillery over to his brother in the 1860s. And his brother ran the distillery until 1894 at his death. His son-in-law, Thomas Barton, which Barton is a familiar name in the bourbon industry, I was not able to find out, and maybe Steve knows, but I was not able to find out if this particular Barton had any ancestry to the Barton distillery and the Bartons from Kentucky or not. But one has to guess that probably somewhere down the line they were uh, cousins or something like that. I didn't find that they were direct descendants or anything. And then, like most distilleries, right before and right after Prohibition, it went through a different array of hands. It was sold off to different people. It was sold off to companies. It's been renamed the Old Weston Distillery. There was a guy with the last name Singer, and then he purchased the distillery and called it the McCormick Distillery, and it was renamed that from 1942 to 1950, and the company was purchased by another guy, which named Cloud Gray of a Midwest Grain Products Company, which makes sense. They're distillery, so it makes sense that they have a tie-in to a grain products company. And then in 1992, a couple of business partners, Ed Pachar and Mike Greasier, I think is his name, purchased it, and it's been active as McCormick Distilling since then. They expanded. They went from 35 employees in the 90s to over 200 later on, and it's currently still owned. It's a privately owned company, believe it or not. The distillery is, and it's still owned by Ed Pachar, as well as the estate of Mike Greasier, who is now deceased, and they have a small group of employees are actually part owners as well. They create a board of directors, basically. So it's very interesting, how old it is, that they've distilled for that long. They're currently not kings of the bourbon world by any means. In fact, they really don't make a bourbon now. They do a blended whiskey and an American whiskey, I think, as part of their product line, but they do distill a lot of clear spirits. They do vodkas, they have gins, they have a lot of flavored type items as well. So it's a pretty interesting little piece of the American bourbon and whiskey world that I don't think is super well known out there. At least its name doesn't have the history of Old Crow or Old Taylor or anything like that, but it's very unique for sure.
Yeah, and of course, Wes and I researched this independently, so I found a couple other additional things. Everything that Wes said is accurate, but a couple things I found out that why Ben Holiday ended up moving there and starting a business there was because Lewis and Clark, of course, as they were going out west and coming back, they were mapping out everything, and they noted this spring that was there. It's a limestone spring, of course.
Yep.
Making whiskey. So he and his brother, moved there and started initially doing meat packing, but wanted to get into distillery. And then they ultimately Ben kind of took the distillery part of it and got that going. So, and you mentioned too the fact that all these things he was doing. He was part of the Pony Express and Wells Fargo and all that. At one time in 1864, he was actually the largest employer in the United States, which is pretty wild to think about. Up there in Weston, Missouri, a guy has more employees than any company in the U.S., which is pretty wild to think about. In another thing, in 1950, you mentioned a grain producer purchasing. It was actually Midwest Grain Products, so MGP. It is that MGP.
Oh, there you go.
That out of Atchison, Kansas, had bought it, and they were utilizing more so they had a bunch of underutilized warehouses there, and more so than anything, MGP was utilizing that as a warehouse storage to age whiskey that they were making. So it's pretty crazy to think about. But they didn't keep it for long. They did sell it off as it changed hands many times through the years. I think what they are most famous for, you didn't mention this, is the Elvis decanters. So all the decanters, of course, went through a big popular time. Elvis, obviously was incredibly popular and very collectible with everything that his face was on. So that gave McCormick a little bit of cachet in the industry, scoring those Elvis decanters. So there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are pretty well made. That they wind up in place. Some of his hits and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's another interesting product line, part of their product lineup that I actually had no idea, and it's interesting. It's Platte Valley corn whiskey. So that's the corn whiskey that comes in the little jugs that has the little cork in the top. It doesn't say whether they currently make it, but it's on their list of products, which I would assume they currently make. But
yeah.
that's interesting that Platte Valley corn whiskey comes from McCormick. I actually thought it was out of Iowa, but it's not.
If you are a Missouri resident, I would venture to guess that if you grew up in Missouri like I did, in your house, or if not your house, houses of your friends, those little Platte Valley whiskey jugs were somewhere in somebody's house, and we had them at my house. There was two of them. My parents weren't huge drinkers. Yeah, exactly, right there. That was in the cabinets above the kitchen. My mom had knickknacks and collectibles and stuff, and two of those, one at each end. But again, those are just a thing that you had growing up. I don't know.
I have recently seen them in liquor stores here
Mm-hmm.
in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because we actually have a little small collection. My daughter does estate sales, and so I've come across a couple of them, which is near and dear to our heart because Kent and I are both from that part of Missouri. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. At one point, they were the longest continuously ran bourbon distillery. So because they worked all the way through Prohibition. Now, some of that was illegal activity. So I guess Tom Pendergrass, the famous Kansas City connected organized crime guy who helped get Truman on a national basis, and had connections throughout organized crime. He was involved in moving some whiskey through there, producing and making it through Prohibition. So I thought that was interesting. And but they did, like Wes said, they quit making whiskey a while back. They still rectify, they still bottle and things like that. But recently, they've started making again, and I think they started making whiskey again because they've opened a little craft distillery under the Holiday name. So it's a Holiday distillery, and they actually were doing tours and stuff like that, but COVID has stopped that, like many other distilleries. But I always say I don't have any interest in seeing their nice, clean craft distillery. I want to see the old equipment and
The old one, yeah.
And I would love to take a tour of that. I know, like Adam Stumpf, whose favorite distillery of all time is Barton. You talked about Barton, and if you've been to Barton, it's a wreck. It's Band-Aids and old. And it's a horrible looking, but it's incredibly fascinating as well. It's a dinosaur, but that's what Adam Stumpf likes. So he's dying to go down or go up there and check them out. And so we want to work out something out where we can go tour that. We won't go just to tour the Holiday Distillery. We want to see the real Weston Distillery. So that's a dream, but we'll see what happens. So that
would be
that's
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. These decanters, the Elvis ones are obviously the most popular. What was interesting, I didn't know they had this many different ones, but they did a different Elvis decanter to commemorate basically how he dressed and looked and performed throughout the year. So like it's almost like a over the top version of the Blanton's tops, where it's a horse in different strides in a race. All of those different Elvis decanters were designed where once a year throughout his career, someone took a picture or grabbed a picture that was taken or whatever, and they created these decanters. That's why different ones, he's dressed differently and facial features are different and things of that nature. So that was pretty interesting. But they had an entire series. They had American Heroes series. They had Patriot series, which is where the Betsy Ross came from. They had a President series. They've got different animal series. They produced like a lot of people from the late 60s to the early 80s produced a lot of whiskey and sold a lot of it through those different decanter series that probably a lot of people have seen, but probably didn't recognize or realize they came from McCormick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, and the Betsy Ross is just one you found out in your bourbon hunting out and about, I guess.
Yeah, just happened upon it. Guy had one and was wanting to offload it. It was in great condition, felt full. I definitely had not had any of that, and so I said, "Yeah, I'll take it. Let's see what it's about."
Mhm. They do have at I don't see it a lot, but every once in a while you run into McCormick whiskey. I don't even look closely at the label. I don't know if it's a blended whiskey or what it is. Um,
Yeah, there is. They have two. They have an American whiskey and a blended whiskey.
okay. It literally, I saw it at the store not long ago. I should have picked it up to take a look at it closer, but like $6.82 or what's the price on that thing?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's old style whiskey and a blended whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So less than $7. I don't even know how you make money at that. I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially for them. I kind of get the Heaven Hill stuff because it's like, that's how a company like Marshall sees it. But it's because when you're in clothes, you have all this extra stuff out of the year, whatever. I could see Heaven Hill have the need to offload maybe some little bit stuff that's not bad, but it's a little off profile and stuff like that. So they put it in, cheaper brands and unload it for these unbelievably low prices. But McCormick, I think they're producing or buying stuff at that level. I guess they're buying stuff that is other people's want to get rid of. I don't know where they come across this where they can buy it so cheap and then be able to sell it so cheap and make money. And of course, we know about the whiskey business. You got to make money at 3 different tiers. So
Yep.
it's amazing to think about. So, Danny's got some. Danny, what do you think of that? What's your review? He's on mute. He's coming in now.
Don't know. I have not opened it yet. I
Okay.
found these 3 bottles on the shelf, and yes, I do have the some of the Elvis decanters. I do have some of the like Betsy Ross and all, but none of them were full. I just bought the bottles just to go along with to display with the decanters.
Okay.
Never cracked it.
Never cracked it. Okay. Well, we'll wait right now as you do that. Go ahead. Here he goes. He doesn't mess around. I was kidding, Danny. But go ahead. Yeah. All right. I bet you this is going
Is
to
that
be.
one of the current? Is that one of the current offerings, or is that an older bottle?
It didn't look like the bottle I saw, but again, maybe it's
It says it's aged 36 months.
probably it's current, but older label, and I could see their stuff sitting on the shelf a while, so
Okay.
it's not surprising. And Danny goes everywhere. He stops everywhere, so Danny's got a whole thing going on. Stops at every liquor store. It's amazing. Finds all kinds of cool stuff. All right, here we go, folks. This is it. He gave it a proper nosing. I think it's the best whiskey he's ever had. I can tell. He's off the wild turkey. He's on the McCormick now. He's no longer a wild turkey guy. What do you think, Danny?
He's a McCormick guy.
No.
No.
Rousing endorsement.
Not
That's
good.
pretty close to the non-alcoholic you gave me.
Oh, that bad? Wow.
That bad.
Wow. Okay. Oh,
I would
Kent's
not
here.
suggest it.
I didn't see Kent slip in here. Oh, okay. Danny, of course, is a big Texas bourbon guy. So being from Texas himself, even he tries to distance himself from that. So, yeah. All right. Sorry, Wes. What else do we need to know here?
Can I say one thing first?
Sure.
Danny's got his hat on upside down, by the way.
This could be a fight here because we have Texas and Oklahoma now. Who's been winning when they've been playing recently? Is it who's been dominating the last several years? Texas? Okay. No. Oklahoma? Danny, what the hell's going on, man? Okay. All right. That's a shame. That's a shame. Well, you might have to switch allegiances. Maybe just go Oklahoma, Danny. I don't think anybody even noticed.
I don't think so.
You got to go with the winner. So, yeah.
Nope.
Jump on the bandwagon. We'll see him next time we see him. He'll be yelling "Boomer" sooner and all that stuff.
Oh no.
His wife. What's Misty's connection to Oklahoma? Somebody.
Her grandfather is her. She has family there. She's got grandfather and 2 aunts.
Okay.
And some cousins up there.
Okay.
Or down there.
Yeah. All right, Wes. So, and this is from 1976. This decanter that you found. Obviously, when you're talking patriotic, I'm sure that that patriotic series probably all came out in 1976. I bet.
I would say so.
If I had to guess. So, yeah, that's interesting. And the decanter was funny. I liked the decanter that you had. So, and somebody won that. I don't remember who. I don't even know if that person's on.
God, I can't remember. Hang on, let me.
Yeah.
Let me see if. I don't think that person is actually on tonight, but
Okay.
I have to look it up and see. I can't remember who it was.
I don't think the person is there. I can't remember. So
Yeah,
right.
he's not. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
We'll catch the replay. So.
Are you needing a visual? I have one.
You have one? You have the Betsy Ross?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, perfect.
Empty.
Grab the Betsy Ross. What proof did this come in, Wes? Is this an 80 proofer?
It's an 86er.
86er. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess that era kind of makes sense. No, I think by 76, the beams were all coming in at 80. So they were hanging out on a little bit there.
Yeah, every once in a while you'll find a beam that was at 90, but they're hard to find.
Yeah. Yeah, most of them are 80.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pour my Betsy Ross here while we wait to see Danny with the decanter. Okay. Nice pour here. All right. Initial nose smells pretty promising.
Yeah, I was very happy about the nose on that.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll wait for Danny. He's sorting through his collection. Where's my Betsy Ross? He's famously going through that inventory right now. His wife's probably got it. Inventory.
Does he have it all written down in a spreadsheet, or is it
the empties as well? Yeah. Oh yeah. She's got it all.
She's. I think we have completed it.
His stuff will be for sale soon, folks. We'll set that up, and we'll do a Zoom thing on that where we can bid on this stuff. So hold her up to the camera there. No, he's getting a proper lighting. Okay. Oh, she's got the flag. Yep, working on it. Okay, there you go. I mean, it's a nice looking decanter. I mean,
She's still got some in her, and as you can see, the seal ain't been broken yet.
oh, so what's lost? What it's all through evaporation then. So
Right.
okay.
it must have been stored upright, but had like a loose cork or something. Is the only thing if there's no signs of leakage, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Because
there
if that
is
thing
no
is sealed
staining on it.
properly.
As you can see, there is
Okay.
no staining.
Yeah, so that must have been a loose cork or something.
Okay. Looks good, Danny. And where'd you find that one at, Danny?
That one I got offline. I met a guy over in O'Fallon, Illinois. He had the whole set.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow.
Did you end up buying the whole set or just picking and choosing some of them?
Bought the whole set.
Okay. Yeah, that's what you find with that stuff is when people have it, they tend to collect them all. And most of them don't drink them, so they keep them as collectibles. So it allows us to, years later, go in and open these up sometimes. All right, Wes, what do you think here? What do we got? What are you guys thinking on that?
If everybody's got their poured, if you haven't, if you don't mind, pour it, and then let's check out the nose. I want to see what everybody else gets on the nose before I make any comments.
I definitely get a liquid brown sugar in
Yep.
the nose, but also there's a spice to it too.
Almost like a pepper.
Yeah, I'm getting something like that, almost like a McCormick brand pepper.
It's a McCormick.
To come full circle. I mean, sure.
Yeah, I get the pepper, and I get a little bit of like it's a freshness, almost like a fruit. I
Mhm.
can't pinpoint what it is, but there's a little bit of it's like a good mix of like the spice from the pepper and maybe some fruit in there.
Yeah. I think it's solid on the nose.
I do too.
I didn't know what we're going to expect, but we still don't know what we're going to expect in the taste. We've been disappointed before, correct, gentlemen? It's happened to us, so we'll see. This is good though. It's a good sign when it comes off good on the nose. So hopefully it
Yeah.
holds up here. So let's give it a taste and see what we think. Yeah. Wow.
Better than the other one.
Yeah.
I think it follows, to me, the nose follows through right to the palate.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not a whole lot of surprise on what you got. What I got on the nose, I got exactly that on the palate.
Yeah. Pretty spicy.
Yeah.
I'll say that, which is nice and warms up and even continues to intensify a little bit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
for an
good
86.
sign. Yeah.
Yeah, for an 86 proof, it kind of drinks a little more closer to like a 94 to 100, I think.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
I would guess that this, based on the nose and the taste for me, I would be surprised that this is not a high rye mash bill.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that's safe to say based on the spiciness level. But it's good. That's
What's everyone else think?
Good. I think it tastes like white pepper.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Very peppery, very spicy.
If they'd have just kept on making this, that'd have been fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is good.
Well, this is also a lot darker. It looks like it's aged a lot longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, and your decanter, I don't know if your decanter still has the label. I don't recall it having an age on it, but I could be wrong. I can't remember.
And the legs just stay forever.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No,
Yeah,
doesn't
I didn't
have
think
an
it
age
did,
sticker.
but I would
It's,
say this is definitely not a young whiskey. I don't think
No, I don't think so either.
it doesn't have any of that ethanol, smell and nose and taste you get. It to me, I would say this is every bit of, I don't know, 5 or 6 years plus probably. It doesn't have a lot of oak to it, so I don't think it's long in the barrel, but it's definitely not very young.
It's not young. Feels like you must have given it a proper aeration too, because it doesn't taste musty, or sometimes it just tastes tight, pent up. This tastes like a normal good whiskey. So
Yeah, what I did was, as soon as we decided that we were going to do this offering, I went ahead. When we decided we're going to do one, I always decant it first before we post it to make sure that it's not cloudy, contaminated, something weird is going on. This one was crystal clear. It was absolutely full as could be. And by the time it's probably been decanted for, I don't know, a good 4 to 6 weeks by now.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been aerated well. It's pleasantly good, actually.
Yeah. I agree. If this was
Especially from a
go ahead,
go
Wes.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, especially from a distillery that for the product they make today, which is blended whiskey or this old time stuff, whatever it is, which is probably green neutral spirits with some other stuff, compared to what they're making today, and for a distillery that, if anybody's heard the name McCormick, they don't think bourbon and they probably don't think distilling. It's a pretty pleasant surprise, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, this is one of those. I mean, it would be kind of like if this was, we're doing our committee with Royce for something they were selling. I mean, this would be just called white pepper. I mean, and
Yep, absolutely.
explains a good descriptor of what it is, what it tastes like, and what the experience is going to be like as you drink it. So I think it's
Yeah, the cool thing about these, if anybody runs into anyone that has these McCormick decanters that are filled, or you find one somewhere, or whatever the case is, and the price is pretty fair. This is one of these cool ones that you can get the decanter, decant it. You can put it on your back bar, and if you have guests over and it's someone that maybe is not a big bourbon person, or they're just learning, and you want to have them taste something from the late '60s to early '80s. Yeah, this is a good one to do that with. You're not gonna, if they like it and drink half of it, who cares, right? It's McCormick and it's pretty cheap. So
yeah.
Now, I poured myself an old tub just to compare, color and stuff. And the old tub's 100 proof, and the old tub's a lot lighter in color.
Hmm.
And the legs are nothing compared to the old McCormick.
Yeah. This one's good. Very solid mouthfeel, oily almost. I mean, it's fantastic. So
yeah, it's good. It's not a super long finish, but it's definitely not short. It's medium plus on the finish, especially for an 86 proof. There's a lot of 86 proofs, especially from that time and era, that are really sweet, really butterscotch or scotchy, but the finish is really short on those. On those, this one here has got a really nice finish to it too.
yeah. Oh. Paul, what do you think of this
No,
one?
it's a good.
I get the pepper and everything, but the longer it sits in the glass, I'm picking up like a coffee or a chocolate, like on the back palate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just
Okay.
like fifth or sixth sip, it's starting to pop out to me. I don't know if it's just getting some air. Or...
Yeah.
I didn't like the smell or the taste when I poured it, but I'm coming around now. It was pretty overwhelming white pepper.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Kent?
Yeah, it is,
Oh, go ahead,
but
Wes.
it's not a bad way, I don't think.
Yeah,
What's that?
Oh, I was just saying, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It is typically when you have a single note, especially on the spice arena, savory and spice arena side. Sometimes a single note can be like overpowering and not really fun to drink. But in this case, it is a white pepper heavy note, but it's not enough where like I have no problem drinking this. Like it doesn't overwhelm you, and it's just enough to be unique, really.
Yeah. Ken, what do you think? You were, I know you were excited about this one and wanting to come on, and whole history living around that area. So what do you think?
Well, it didn't taste like the McCormick's I remembered back high school type. Not good. Not good.
Uh-huh.
So as far as taste, well, talk about the finish a little bit. I didn't get a whole lot on the side of my tongue and my cheeks. It took quite a while for it to kind of seep down there, but man, on top of the tongue, it was peppery.
Yeah.
The coffee in the back, dark chocolate. I later into some dark chocolate kind of seeping down the back.
Yeah.
That's kind of my taste notes. Yeah.
On the chocolate, I would say it's more specific to a baker's chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see this crossover.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, a nice, baker's chocolate. Yeah, it kind of has almost a coffee. It starts kind of. Where's the difference between those two? So yeah,
Semi-sweet chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
It's more savory than sweet, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love the history on the McCormick's, and I sent you all that stuff, Steve, or I sent you a bunch of stuff. But I've surveyed the George Shawhan, which he bought it from the holidays. I've surveyed all his land, and his family still lives out in the Lone Jack area. but I've surveyed quite a bit up around Weston as well. That's a pretty place. I would love to live in Weston.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That the old distillery in Lone Jack, there's still remnants there. That's one place I've tried to talk Alan into coming over and trying to catch some yeast from. There's a lot of old wood and foundation stuff.
Uh-huh.
But it's back in the woods, way back in the woods.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That distillery burnt, right? And then he came over and he bought what was at that time the Holiday Distillery.
That's right.
Yeah.
But his family, they were Kentucky distillers.
Mm-hmm.
They were Jacob Spears. The first Shawhan was partners with Jacob Spears, just 1790-ish. And it wasn't like a generation or two before they moved to Missouri. So
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Cool history.
Little history about Lone Jack, Missouri. It's famous for two things. One being the old distillery that blew up. It caught fire and burned. That was the end of it, but it actually blew up at one time. But the main reason people know Lone Jack, Missouri, that's where Rooster Cogburn lost his eye in the Battle of Lone Jack.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
It is interesting.
Who was a better Rooster Cogburn? Because I have my
Said that
thoughts.
again.
Who played him better? Bridges or Wayne?
Well, they're different. They're totally different.
Well, you got to pick one though. What if you?
No, the performance I liked the best was definitely Bridges.
Yeah, he was better.
But the Duke, I mean, you can't hardly. I mean, there wouldn't have been a Bridges if there wasn't a Duke. So
Probably. But yeah. I thought Bridges nailed that one. So he was great. Wayne, I'm not a huge fan of. I haven't seen a whole lot of movies. I have seen that. I saw The Shootist, and others I would just get pieces of because my dad liked all those old Western movies and stuff. So I've seen parts of all of them, but I was never a huge John.
like the young ones when he was young, almost just not too far after the silent movies when he first got into it. Those were good movies. Not a quality, whatever, but
Yeah.
he was a stud.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. Well,
I was working in Fort Smith whenever that movie came out when Bridges did that.
uh-huh.
And that whole first part of that movie, where they're starting out in Fort Smith, where Judge Parker is,
Yeah.
it looked so realistic. They rebuilt that whole movie scene to look just like Fort Smith as it was in the day. So
Huh. That's cool.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Very nice. So, I don't know. Anything else on this one, guys?
Surprisingly good.
Yeah, surprisingly good. Yeah. They're not known for making great whiskey, but they did good here. They got some good stuff here for sure. All right, Wes. Next one, you got to get us an Elvis one.
An Elvis one? Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually, I could probably grab an Elvis one. Let me do that at some point.
Wes, so I'm reading
Yes, sir.
my wife's notes here. You talked a little bit about Lewis and Clark, found a spring there, and that's where Ben Holiday moved in because you heard about that.
Yes.
Another little interesting thing about Lewis and Clark on that bluff right there, that's where the first member of the Lewis and Clark expedition died, and he's buried on that bluff.
Really?
That's interesting.
He's probably draining down into that spring.
Probably.
Maybe that's why the whiskey doesn't taste as good today.
Right. Huh. Yeah, that whole Lewis and Clark thing is fascinating. The stuff that they did, and it's amazing.
Yeah, just what they had to go through, like just to make the trek, because all that land was nothing but just forest wildlife. It's amazing that they even made it.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't think they did. Yeah. They were written off, but they came back.
So have any of y'all had pawpaw, any whiskey made from pawpaws?
What do you mean?
No.
Pawpaw is a little plant. It was very, in fact, when Lewis and Clark went up the river, they noted pawpaws, but that's what they survived coming back down, because when they were coming back down, they were nearly starved to death, and they were eating pawpaws off the riverbank. Pawpaws grow very close to persimmons. Persimmons is very, very bitter, and pawpaws is very, very sweet. And I was talking to Alan Bishop a week or two ago. He was talking about he doesn't like pawpaw whiskey, which they make that in Indiana, but a lot of pawpaws with the persimmons to give a balance, making whiskey. And I was like, well, I've never tasted either one of them. I've never even seen a pawpaw because they're all gone out of Missouri as far as I know. But
persimmons are terrible. God. I can't imagine making I can't imagine even making gin with botanicals and persimmons. Like it is probably the most tart fruit that I've ever had on my tongue in my life. Like it is overwhelmingly tart.
Have you ever had gooseberries?
Gooseberry?
No, I have not.
Gooseberry pie? Yeah.
That'll change your mind.
Yeah.
Well, based on that, I probably never will.
No, but gooseberry makes a good pie. It's highly caloric because of all the sugar you got to put into it to kill the tartar.
Huh. Yeah. Just make a good berry pie. No, yeah. Why get something where you have to add all the sugar in there to offset? Seems like you should. But I remember stocking the grocery shelves when I worked at Schnucks. When I was high school and college, we sold gooseberries there, which is a weird thing. Canned gooseberries.
They're extremely tart.
Yeah, I always wondered what the hell that was. That was a weird name, so it stuck out. I don't know if they still sell that kind of stuff or not, but there was a whole little section. There was like 6 weird berries that this one company made. Gooseberries being one of them.
Like Oregon fruit.
Maybe, yeah. I'll tell you what, though. You ever go out to the Pacific Northwest and get huckleberries, fresh huckleberries?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. Those are fantastic, man. You can't get them. Can't get them by us. So it's a mountain fruit, and there's no farms or anything like that. It's just there's people picking them out of the mountains and bringing them down. It's crazy, but they're good.
I like fresh blackberries.
Fresh blackberries. Those can be hit and miss, though. But yeah.
Make a blackberry cobbler.
Yeah.
Sit there and eat with your chiggers that you're scratching for picking on them blackberries.
Chiggers are the worst. That lasts a whole summer. Chigger bites. Yeah.
Ugh.
Terrible.
So kerosene on the pant leg.
Cherry pie is made out of tart cherries like Traverse City uses for their whiskey.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
But you never see those around St. Louis. Never see tart cherries.
No. All right, gents. Well, anything else for this evening? That was a good one.
No, I want to thank everyone for joining. These Dusty series are a fun thing for me anyway. I love the history behind it and like being able to get some different people to try some of the Dusties and get your opinions on it. So I appreciate everyone that joined for sure.
Well, thank you for trying them and thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
You know, we've got plenty more as long as we got people that want to drink some history. So
Yeah, that's what we want to keep doing them. We get Wes a little money. He goes back, and what does he do? He's just buying more whiskey to come on future events. So it's cool. That's a cool thing, and
yep.
I enjoy trying them and all different ones. So that's the neat thing. your whiskey exploration never ends. You're always looking for what's next, what's new. So, and when I say what's new, what's old that's new to you. So it's cool. Cool. All right,
Yeah,
guys.
we've got another event out there, don't we, Steve?
We do. Yeah. So that one's coming up. Matter of fact, tickets are going to be cut off. Tomorrow's the last day, and that one, refresh my memory, Wes. What is that one? That is.
So that one's a cool one. So it's going to be another one of these. I love these old brands that on the surface, people, you say something to someone like McCormick and they're like, whatever, it tastes like hell, I'm sure, but you got to get into the history. This one is Old Mr. Boston. And here, without spoiling too much, because I want to save the history, here's what I'll say about this one. Don't sleep on the name. Old Mr. Boston is a label, and the whiskey, it comes from a distillery that no longer exists as it did back in those days. And it's the Decanter is cool. It's a Mario Andretti Formula One car. It's really cool. The whiskey is obviously already decanted. I've had it decanted for a few weeks now. It's super dark and rich. It's going to be, I think so far, I've had a couple of these Old Mr. Boston. They've been phenomenal. I've blind tasted these with some friends against some other Dusties, and they've finished top two, finished first a couple times. I think everyone's going to be very, very surprised at this one, so I'm excited about it.
Cool. Yes. The date's October 1st is the date on that one. So, but it does go off sale tomorrow. Cause again, we got to leave West time to get all that shipped. So tomorrow's going to be the last day. We actually got a newsletter going out about all of our training events. And, there's a couple warnings in there, low ticket warnings on the ones that are just about sold out. And then there's that and another one, at least one more. I think that it's the last day it's for sale is tomorrow. So
You got 3 spots open on this?
yeah.
Yeah.
I sure do. So yeah, that'd be great. Get signed up, and yeah, it'll be a fun one. That Old Boston, I've got an Old Boston Dusty too, Wes. I'll bring it on.
And like always, do you? Perfect. Yeah. So like all of my Dusty series that I do, we'll be raffling the Decanter to give away to one of the participants as well. So, and it's a cool one. It's a yellow Mario Andretti car. So if you're a race fan of any kind, it's kind of a cool bourbon shelf or mantelpiece as well.
Yeah, so you'll be giving that away. And the Dusty, I'll bring it. Not anything we'll ever want to drink. It's matter of fact, it's mostly gone. It's probably 80% evaporated, but it had fruit in there, so it must have been something they were trying. And even on the label, it says the fruit will not go bad. Well, I'm going to show you guys. You'll be able to see in there that fruit went bad. It's not good. It is ugly. Yes, I'll bring that just for fun to show you guys that. That's something I had.
They're probably talking 50 years later.
Yeah. I guess they weren't thinking it would make it that long, but
Yeah.
Eventually it does go bad. I'll say that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's interesting. I just picked it up for a novelty to show people stuff like that. So, all right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this one, and appreciate you guys being part of this. And these are the regular faces, so appreciate you guys, everything that you do, being involved in all these. It's really a lot of fun for us. We enjoy doing it, and we appreciate what you guys do for us. So thank you very much, and you guys have a good night.
Always a good time.
Absolutely.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. It's a good time.